These steps are clearly in violation of City Code subsection B.
We expect immediate rectification, Your Honor.
I caught her on my porch at 6:02 a.m., the cold air biting my bare ankles while she stretched a metal tape measure across my railings like she owned the place. The sky was still gray, the streetlights humming, and I could smell fresh asphalt from the road crew up the block and my own coffee still steaming in my hand. She didn't see me at first. She was too busy muttering about inches and setbacks, clutching a clipboard like it was a weapon. When she finally turned, I recognized her right away. Karen, self-appointed queen of our HOA, the one who sent rule reminder emails at 9 p.m. like it was her job. That was the moment I thought, this is it. Karen trespassed onto my courthouse steps porch to measure decorations, had no idea I am the judge, and that is exactly what this fight is about. I tried to start calm. I asked what she was doing on my property at dawn. She sniffed and said my fall decorations were non-compliant. The pumpkin arrangement was too wide, the small flag too high, the white lights too bright. She said the board had received several complaints, 11 in the last month, and she was just enforcing the rules. I told her the rules allowed seasonal displays and that I would gladly fix anything the actual board voted on. She waved me off and said the board trusted her and that people were scared to say no. Curtains twitched up and down the street. Neighbors watched but stayed inside. When I reminded her she was trespassing, she smirked and said, "Call them, the police always take my side." Then she snapped her tape measure closed and marched off my steps like she had just passed sentence. I stood there on my porch, which really does look like courthouse steps, and felt my line in the sand harden. I am a judge in the next county over. I spend my days telling people to respect the law and use the proper channels. I was not about to turn vigilante over a pumpkin and a flag. But I was done letting her bully the whole street. So I went inside, sat at my kitchen table, smelled the coffee, and opened my laptop. First, I pulled our HOA bylaws, then every email she had sent in the past year. Then I checked public records, complaint logs, even the non-emergency police call list. When I pulled her history with the HOA, the file landed with 63 pages. I lined up photos, emails, and call logs in a binder. On the first page I wrote, in big letters, Timeline Item 1 April 5th at 4:27 a.m. false trespass call. As I worked, one plain thought kept looping in my head: patterns of false reports can be prosecuted. Over the next week, I collected everything. Dates, times, screenshots of her messages where she bragged about getting people fined, notes from neighbors who were scared of her. Our doorbell cameras gave me crystal clear video of her stepping onto my porch, tape measure in hand, at 6:02 a.m., no notice, no board member with her. I highlighted the section of the bylaws that said only the board as a whole could order inspections and only with written notice. Proper channels. Lawful process. That was my language. I sent a very polite email to the HOA president asking for a special open meeting on May 3, 2024, to address ongoing harassment and improper enforcement. I did not mention my job. I just offered to present everything and let the board decide. The president replied within 10 minutes with a nervous yes, saying other people had concerns too. Karen did not slow down before the meeting. If anything, she sped up. On Tuesday, she slipped a yellow notice under my door, claiming I owed $100 for an unapproved wreath. On Thursday, she knocked at 9 p.m. to say my porch lights were still under review. I smiled, logged every visit, and did not argue. Each new stunt went into the binder. By the time May 3 rolled around, I had 3 tabs of evidence and a calm, rehearsed opening statement. The clubhouse smelled like coffee and old carpet when I walked in that evening. Every chair was full. People were standing along the walls, phones already in their hands. Karen sat in the front row, clipboard on her lap, telling anyone who would listen that she was finally going to clean up the neighborhood. She still had no idea why the board had asked me to sit at the long table with them. When the president banged the little gavel and introduced me, she used my full title. She said, "Tonight we have Judge Miller, who also happens to be our neighbor, here to help us understand the legal side of enforcement." The room went very quiet. Karen's smile froze, then slid right off her face. I opened the binder and started with the simple stuff. I explained our bylaws in plain language, point by point. I showed the section that limited inspections. Then I clicked the remote, and the first video popped up on the screen, Karen, in high definition, stepping onto my clearly marked private porch at 6:02 a.m., stretching her tape measure across my decorations. I let the silence sit until someone in the back gave a low wow. Then I read from the police non-emergency log and flipped to my written summary, tapping the label, Timeline Item 1 April 5th at 4:27 a.m. False trespass call. You could feel the shift in the room. By the time I finished, people were whispering, some not even trying to hide their phones. A neighbor near the window laughed under his breath and said, "HOA Karen just got judged by a judge." I kept my tone steady. I reminded everyone that our HOA was not a private kingdom and that no one had the right to use fake violations to harass their neighbors. I said, without raising my voice, patterns of false reports can be prosecuted. Then I sat back and let the board talk. The president looked like she might be sick, but she did her job. She asked for a motion. One member moved to remove Karen from all committees, enforce trespass rules on her as well, and issue fines for improper enforcement. Another member added mandatory written apologies to every homeowner she had targeted. The vote was 5-0. When they announced that her fines totaled $800 and that further calls without cause would be referred to the police, the room actually gasped. The police officer who lives 2 doors down stood up then. He had been sitting quietly in the back in uniform, just in case tempers flared. He spoke once, calm and simple, and said they would no longer respond to vague disturbance calls from our street without clear facts. Karen tried to object, saying she was only protecting property values, but her voice was drowned out by the murmur of neighbors. Someone near the back whispered, "This is going on TikTok," and held their phone higher. Another neighbor patted my shoulder as they passed and mouthed "thank you." The next morning, the video of Karen being confronted with the footage and the binder was already online. By noon it had thousands of views and a comments section full of people who were very, very done with HOA bullies. After that night, our block felt different. Kids rode their bikes without getting notes about wheel marks on the sidewalk. People put out normal, simple decorations without expecting a knock at dawn. Karen still lived there, but she walked her dog on the far side of the street and kept her eyes on the ground. A week later, I found a small pot of red geraniums on my courthouse steps porch with a short handwritten note. It didn't say much, just that she was sorry things went so far. I watered the flowers and left them there. I don't need her to like me. I just need everyone to feel safe in their own homes. And if my job helped remind her that rules cut both ways, I can live with that. Please follow for more HOA showdowns like this. Do you think she got what she deserves? Comment below.